Are you ready to build a solid pistol stance from the ground up?
Hi, I'm Jalise Williams. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be learning about stance, so follow along so that you can practice on your own at home. Why is stance important? Well, we're going to go into story time for this one. So when I first started shooting handguns, I was 10 years old, and I immediately started competing with it. So going into that, the big part of why I was able to compete at 10 years old shooting a full-size 9mm was my stance. That was just one of the many points, but stance is so important because I was 70 pounds soaking wet at that age. So getting a good stance is going to help improve your shooting and your fundamentals. So the first thing that we're going to do is talk about going from the ground up. We're building from the ground up. You've probably heard other people say that. That basically means our stance is going to start at your feet. So think nice and wide, about shoulder width apart. You don't want it super wide. You just want it slightly wider than shoulder width apart. This gives you a nice strong base. It's nice and wide and it's stable. So we're shoulder width apart. Now we can start building up from there. The second part we're going to do is offset our feet. So it gives us a little bit more push against that gun, gives us a little bit more control over that gun, and we like control over it. So we're going to take our strong side and we're going to move that foot slightly back. I like to think of it as your toe coming in line with your other heel. And that's about where you should start putting your foot back from to start bracing against the recoil. Now we're going to slightly give our body an angle forward, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So think about being on the balls of your feet. How we're going to do that is we're going to put our knees in front of our ankles. Then we're going to put our hips in front of our knees. We're going to put our shoulders in front of our hips. See how my body automatically did that? And then we're going to put my ears in front of my shoulders. So this almost feels like we're teetering forward. So we're just going to pull back slightly, but still stay on the balls of our feet. We don't want hardly any weight on the heels. Think you're almost shooting like your heels are touching a feather on the ground. You don't want to crush the feather. You just want to hold the feather there. And that is the slight body angle we want forward when we are shooting. This stance should be an athletic stance. Think basketball, think baseball, think athletic. So we want our knees bent, but we don't want them overly bent. So what we're going to do to kind of test to see where our knees are going to be bent is we're going to lock our knees. And now we're just going to unlock them and go like a little bit further. There we go. Nice little bend in the knee. And next, we got to think about our arms because our body has that stance. Now we have our upper limbs that connect to the gun, which is our arms. Our elbows play a big deal in the recoil control. So think about the elbows. We're just going to bend over. We're going to do an exercise. We're going to bend over at our hips. And we're just going to lightly just relax our arms and let them hang down for a second. Okay? Now we're going to lightly touch our fingertips together. And we're going to bend up at the waist and come straight up to eye level. This is approximately where your elbows are going to be naturally bent. We want a strong athletic stance, but we also want it to be as close to natural as possible so we don't get overly tired when we're shooting. So that natural bend in the elbows to help bring this, we're going to go over a little bit more in the grip, but to help kind of bring those elbows up a little bit, and that's going to put pressure on the grip. So slight bend, elbows pointed up slightly. Think about connecting your elbow points through each other to the other side. Just bend up slightly and there we go. That is our elbow bend. So now we have the main points of what we want to hit when we're making our stance and creating something stable. There's a couple of refining points you can put into it once you have the main points together. And one of those things is actively pushing your feet into the ground. I like to think of it as I'm pushing the balls of my feet into the ground. And I'm just not going to put my stance together. I'm just going to feel this. I'm pushing the balls of my feet into the ground. You're going to feel pressure around your hips, kind of around your hip flexors area. That's how you know it's working. And that's going to create an extra step of stability for you. Now let's test our stance. If you're alone, I have a great way for you to test a stance alone. So, as you see, I have a wall here. I'm going to go to the blank side of the wall. I'm going to start from the ground up and go point by point. I'm going to bring my feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart. My strong side, I'm going to bring back so my toes in line with my other heel. Then I'm going to lean forward. I'm going to do the knees in front of ankles, the hips in front of knees, the shoulders in front of the hips, and then the ears in front of the shoulders, okay? I'm going to have a nice bend in my knees. Then I'm going to come up, nice natural bend in the elbows. We're going to lean forward and push against the wall, okay? Now I'm going to add in that extra step of pushing the balls of my feet into the ground. If you're too close to the wall, take a slight step back and then do it again. Build up, okay? Nice bend in the elbows, lean forward. There we go. Now we can touch the wall if we want, or another way to do that is fingertips, okay? Here we go. Stand straight up, fingertips against the wall, create the stance. Nice bend in the elbows and get that nice lean forward. There we go. And that's how you can test the stance while you're alone in your own home. Now, if you're with somebody else, a great way to test each other is building your stance. Go ahead and make a fist with one hand. With the other hand, preferably your strong hand, and then with your support hand, kind of just wrap that hand over. And then as you present out and you go ahead and build your stance and everything together, the other person can give you nice taps. Not super aggressive taps, but not overly light, kind of just that nice in the middle. So as you can see, I'm all alone right now. I'm going to play you a clip real quick from one of my classes so you can actually see what it's supposed to look like with a partner. Come around and give you all a couple taps and adjust your stance accordingly. So go ahead and put your arms out. I'm going to give you a few taps. See how you're moving back. Move forward. Extend your elbows a little bit right there. Bring your head forward. Just a little bit more. Bend your knees slightly. There we go. There we go. You feel how you manage that much better. Very good. Okay, bring it up to eye level. Okay. Forward a little bit. Bring your head forward. Yes. All right, so we've covered stance, which is considering all the little points that go into making up the stance. We're going to quickly go over that. So it's the feet slightly wider than shoulder width apart and your strong side slightly back. We're going to have a nice slight bend in the knees. We're going to bring them forward of our ankles, our hips forward of our knees. Then we're going to bring our shoulders in front of our hips, our ears in front of our shoulders. We're going to have a nice natural bend in our elbows, lifting up slightly. We're going to actively push down on the balls of our feet, keeping our heels nice and light. We're going to feel that in our hips. We're going to present out, and that is our stance. So if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer them. But follow along for more tips on how to become a better shooter starting from the ground up. This exercises that we did in this episode particularly, you don't need a gun. But if you do have a gun and you want to use it, this is kind of what it's going to look like. Now, if you're practicing with a gun at home, what you want to do is make sure you're following the safety rules, because we don't want to point it at something we don't want to destroy, as well as making sure it is completely unloaded in your home while you are practicing. So I'm going to build my stance with it, and this is what it's going to look like.
Now, let's take a look at my stance during a stage at a match so you can see it in action. Next, we'll slow it down. As you watch, see if you can pick out the steps I just taught you from the ground up. Let's slow it down even more and watch again. At the end, you'll see exactly why an athletic stance matters. When it's time to move, it allows you to react faster and move more efficiently. Keep practicing and take the time to build a solid, dependable pistol stance.